Welcome the Boy Scouts to lead us in the pledge. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Girl Scouts past and present, please join us in saying our pledge.
My honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law.
Boy Scouts, past and present, please join us. The Boy Scouts, in saying their oath.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, and to obey the Scout law, and to help other people of all kinds, keep myself
Mentally awake.
Please remain standing for the national anthem sung by Veronica from Shrines 5836.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed by the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare and bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. Thank you everyone for attending tonight. Our Girl Scouts decided 2 years ago to honor those who lost their lives or were impacted in any way by the events that took place on September 11, 2001. As you may or may not be aware, the Girl Scout program is dedicated to community service and development of leaders within the community. Our troop chose to put together this ceremony for their Bronze Award last year. We have chosen to continue with the tradition of this ceremony to continue to give back to police officers, firefighters, emergency services, victims, families, and friends of our community. We hope to continue to honor the fallen in years to come. Thank you. If
if you would like to, please sign our guest book and share your memory of what you witnessed after 9/11 when our country citizens put their differences aside and came together. Thank you. Troop 95562. Please welcome up. Please join us in welcoming Mayor Tom Giordino to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting myself and the council who is here with me tonight to be a part of this very special ceremony. Also, I'd like to thank the Girl Scouts for allowing me to say a few words. But before I speak, I would just like to thank people that were very instrumental in making this possible. Of course, we would like to thank Tanya for doing a great job with the girls to putting this event together again for a second year. I would also like to thank the DPW who made sure the park and this pavilion was all set, our fire department for the flag, we have our veterans here, our police department, and everybody that was involved with today's event. I thank you very much. This is the second year that the Girl Scout Troop 95562 is hosting this ceremony for our community to remember and honor all those who responded to Ground Zero, who helped rebuild, unite, and support each other. Although none of you were born yet back in 2001 when 9/11 occurred, by hosting this event, you demonstrate your love and respect for what others do each and every day and how they give back to their community. This has not just happened as being a young lady. It was your parents that instilled in you the sense of giving back and volunteering. So also, I'd like to thank all the parents here for raising great young ladies to do what they are doing. By holding this ceremony tonight, you are commemorating a very significant event in our country's history, and you are honoring the lives of those lost that day. This event brings our community together, not just to mourn the tragic events of that day, but also to remember the good that came out of September 11th. This day was a devastating day, but it was also a day that brought out the best in all Americans. Called to Lower Manhattan by the medical examiner's office that evening, I personally witnessed the tragedy firsthand, but I also witnessed something else, something more special to me. I saw firefighters, police officers, all types of fire responders, men and women, joining to help in any way possible. September 11th was not about one person doing a job. It was about all of us working together to rebuild our country. Their bravery, courage, and selflessness was incredible. Everyone did whatever they had to do for their neighbor, and we can all learn from their example by doing our own good works within our community for others. Waldwick lost one resident that day, John Griffin. A memorial to honor our Waldwick hero is located in the front of Fire Company Number 2 on Wyckoff Avenue. It is a tribute to John and to all the responders who gave their time and some their lives for their brother and country. And tonight we are very honored to have with us his wife, June. The memory of John and all those who lost their lives will always remain in our hearts and will always be a special part of all of us here in Waldwick. It is so important that young people like yourselves and all future generation of Americans continue to commemorate this day. This ceremony tonight that you are hosting for your community is a tribute, and it honors all of those who lost their lives that day. It also honors the sacrifice of all first responders and their courage amid such overwhelming destruction. Out of the ruins of the World Trade Center came hope and a new sense of determination. A nation determined to defend and protect itself, to be stronger, and to rebuild and complete themselves again. We have great Girl Scouts as well as Boy Scouts here in Waldwick. Each one of you represent the very best of Waldwick. In addition, the future of Waldwick belongs to all of you. Please continue to do good and positive things to the community and for others, because your contribution does definitely make a difference. Waldwick is in good hands with young residents as yourselves. You should be very proud of all you have done so far in the community, and I personally am very proud of you. Between the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts here in Waldwick, Waldwick is always going to be a community built with young people who will give back to our community. It is an honor to join you here today, and I thank you all for being part of this ceremony and to honor those whose lives were lost on September 11th. and also to honor those who, when darkness hit America on September 11th, stood up, worked together, rebuilt America, and made the sun shine again. God bless America, those who lost their lives on September 11th, their families, our first responders, our community, and God bless the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of Waldwick. Thank you.
18 years since 2001. The big anniversaries usually come in 5s and 10s. 10 years since, 15 years since, and soon 20 years since. In Jewish tradition, however, the number 18 has special significance. It symbolizes life. Today, on this 18th anniversary of September 11th, a day that held so much loss, destruction, and grief, followed by even more pain and grief, as we think of those service members who died serving our country, those first responders who have continued to struggle with the physical and emotional toll, and all of those families that still have an empty place at their center. And we also think about life. The lives that were lost, yes, but the lives that the survivors have gone on to live, the lives of the children who have grown up missing a parent they never knew, and the lives that we all are blessed to live in their name and their memory. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memories of the righteous be for a blessing. God full of mercy, creator of all, source and shelter, grant a perfect rest under your tabernacle of peace to those who died in the 9/11 attacks on the United States. Remember the works of their hands and the message of their hearts. Grant their families peace and comfort for your name's sake, and for the sake of those who perished. Bring an end to violence and terror speedily in our days. May their memories be sanctified with joy and with love. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life, a living blessing in our midst. And we say, Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Merman. Please join us in welcoming Pastor Jenny to lead us in the prayer.
For the blessing this evening, I'd like to begin with a reading from Psalm 46. God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear. Though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of the city. It shall not be moved. God will help it when morning dawns. Let us pray. O God, our hope and refuge, on this anniversary of 9/11, in our distress we come to you. Shock and horror of that tragic day have subsided, replaced now with an emptiness, a longing for what once was. We come remembering those who lost their lives in New York, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. We come remembering the sacrifice of public servants who demonstrated the greatest love of all by laying down their lives for others. We come remembering, and we come in hope, not in ourselves, but in you. As foundations we once thought secure have been shaken, we are reminded, you, O God, are our strength and our security. In commemorating this tragedy, we give you thanks for your presence in our time of need. You are in the midst of the city. You are in the midst of us. We shall not be moved, for you are our strength and our refuge. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Jenny. We would now like to welcome Gianna as she leads us in hope. Read her poem.
My poem is about John Griffin. It's a simple one about his likes and what he liked to do. John Griffin is a Yankee fan, a Giants fan, a Rangers fan, a golfer, a fisher, an artist, a rock star, and he is amazing.
You guys all have copies of the music on the table if you'd like to join in with us.
Everyone. Please welcome Waldwick resident Ray Cruz to share a few words about his experience on 9/11.
No worries. It's funny, somebody just said I get to see who Ray Cruz is for the first time.
I'm following you all the time.
I wrote this speech and I wanted to make a little note here. I need to introduce myself, why I'm up here. I am one of the 5 admins that runs a community group called Waldwick United. It's no accident that we called it Waldwick United, as you will hear from my speech here. First, I want to thank all of you girls for putting together a wonderful, wonderful event. I was in a couple of the meetings in which you were all working so hard and diligently. I was completely impressed with the amount of effort, love, and attention you put towards putting this event together. I would hope that the Girl Scouts continue to do this every year for us, especially at this time when everybody comes home from work. They can spend some time commemorating and remembering the victims of 9/11 and honoring those that so heroically allowed us to be here today and celebrating like we are today. Miss Tanya, Brooke, and that's it. And Kristina, you guys were amazing role models for these girls, so thank you. I'm a survivor of 9/11. I am one of those people that was going to work that day. But I'm not one of those people that was 3 cities away. I walked towards those buildings after I got off the New York Waterway Ferry because I worked for Merrill Lynch at the time. It was about 8:45 in the morning. It was one of my late days. I was walking into the building because I wanted to go to the gym. Our company had this little program where if you actually worked out and got yourself healthy, you were able to walk into work at 10 o'clock, 10:30. It was great. It's one of those perks of working one of those Wall Street companies. Because I took the advantage of that opportunity that day, I'm standing before you today. It's a small choice that you make, and many people made small choices that day. Some people made the same choice they made every day and never returned. So I consider myself not lucky, because I hate that word. I consider myself blessed. So I walked towards the buildings that morning. I saw the first plane hit the tower. I was frozen, not really understanding what had just happened. I just heard the plane coming, and then I heard the boom. And then I heard screams and people wondering. They were saying this was a helicopter, something crashed, we don't know what it was. An airplane, a boat exploded. I heard so many different things, but there were many people who worked in Wall Street at that time who had survived the initial bombing of the World Trade Center. I believe it was 8 or 9 years earlier. And those people quickly turned around and got back on the boat. I was lucky enough to follow their lead. So as I was walking, I won't give you guys any sort of graphical detail of the things that I saw that day. The acts of heroism, the panic in people's eyes, the screams. We have children here, so we won't go into graphic detail. But I will tell you, needless to say, that there are many heroes that day. Heroes that don't wear uniforms. Heroes that didn't choose to be heroes that day. And some of those heroes never made it back. So my speech here is not so much to tell you a little bit about my story, but tell you a little bit about the people I knew and the people that I saw there doing heroic things, because that's who we are as Americans. What happened was evil. It was evil, and like so many others that survived that day, sometimes I wonder if I had made that different choice, would I be here? Would I have a daughter, a son, be married, great friends, family, coach baseball, softball, all the things that I've been able to enjoy. In 16 years in this community, I've had a great time. As I said, I feel blessed. When people throw the word around what terrorism is, there's always a really true definition of what it is, what its purpose is. It's meant to scare you. Terrorism is meant to scare you, meant to change the way you behave, change your life, change the way you interact with people, drive us all apart, grow suspicion, and build hate. And we saw some of that post 9/11. And we're always told to never forget. And for people like me who spent a good 2 to 3 years dealing with the pain of 9/11, and you can probably see in my face that it never really goes away. Never forget gets me angry, because I remember how angry I was of what had happened to my country and to my friends. However, there's another tale that many of you know. You see, as the chaos of the following weeks ensued, I went back to work at Ground Zero. Not 4 to 5 days later, Merrill Lynch was one of the first companies to actually open up shop. As you all know the story, Christy Whitman told everyone the air was safe, and the DEP air testing machines were right there at the landing of the escalator, and we were fine. Everything was okay. Courage and strength found us, though. It found us, all of us. Instead of driving our people apart, what I witnessed was policemen, nurses, doctors, firefighters, and just regular people like you and me, fathers, mothers, young people, all pulling together heroically to support each other and the victims' families, as well as just supporting any stranger that just needed a cup of coffee. Bars stayed open a little later. Bars didn't charge money for the firemen or the policemen or anybody who was working down in Wall Street. Restaurants fed the hungry. No questions asked. What all of you did was more than brave. To the victims' families, what you're doing today is brave. You are heroes. The mothers whose husbands never came back, you are heroes to me. Sorry. Because you supported each other, donated blood, worked food pantries, worked 24-hour shifts in the recovery efforts, went to work each day ignoring the telltale signs and the smells of those days at Ground Zero. I know there's some of you who are here who know exactly what I'm talking about. If you were there, I know our mayor here knows exactly what I'm talking about. We should honor the heroic efforts of our police, EMS, and firemen every single day. They choose to stand on the line between danger and prosperity for us. They choose that life. They choose to wake up every day and possibly not come back. And we should honor them. However, I also believe it is equally important to honor the heroes of that day that never made it out. Like our very own John Griffin. And I ask all of you to carry forward and never forget, remember that phrase, to never forget the lessons of the days after September 11th. Hug your children tighter, love a little harder, smile and laugh a little longer, enjoy being part of this community, and enjoy being an American. Because that is exactly what they attacked, and that's exactly what they wanted to take away. Enjoy this community, Waldwick, because it is special. Enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed it and my family have enjoyed it for the past 16 years. Waldwick, our town, our people, our children exemplify exactly what we need to protect in a world too often marred by acts of evil and violence. Be glad you live here. Do not take this community for granted. I have seen a million times worse. We owe it to all 2,977 victims of that day to do no less every day. I'd like to leave you with a quote from a former president. He said, "Even the smallest act of service, the simplest act of kindness, is a way to honor those we lost, a way to reclaim that spirit of unity that followed 9/11. Thank you.
Please welcome Councilwoman Nicole McNair to share an uplifting message with us.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming tonight, echoing Ray's sentiments and the mayor's sentiments. Thank you, girls. Thank you everyone for coming. The week leading up to 9/11 inevitably I become very reflective about that particular morning and afternoon. I had just begun my senior year at Fordham University in the Bronx. We had 8:30 a.m. classes that morning. No one knew yet the severity of what had happened, but we did by the time we got back to our dorms. We could hear CNN blasting from every suite's common room when we got off the elevator and spent the day staring at the skyline from our 13th floor bedroom. Our campus pretty much stayed glued to the televisions, and we were like zombies walking to the cafeterias and visiting other friends. Tears were shed, hearts were heavy, phone lines were down, preventing us from calling home to let our parents know that we were okay, as many of us had started internships in Manhattan at that point. But by the next day, it was a completely different story. We woke up and walked around a buzzing campus. A vigil was being planned on the main quad. Blood drives were being organized on campus and at Montefiore across the street. Students were organizing to head downtown and somehow to volunteer however they were needed. And as I picked the brains of residents here in town and colleagues who live here in Bergen County, the stories were similar. People were activated and ready to go. More vigils, more blood drives, collections for anything and everything. I heard stories of retired firefighters and cops amassing new socks and t-shirts for their active brothers and beelining into Lower Manhattan to deliver these supplies and see how they could help. I heard stories of collection drives for booties for search and rescue dogs at Ground Zero. You name it, it was being organized. And that's all to say that none of us would ever wish another 9/11, but I would take the spirit that followed in the aftermath anytime, and I think we can all agree. And that's all to say that this is what makes you girls and your dedication to this ceremony so special. You made the time to organize, and you made the time to give your community the opportunity to honor this day and to commemorate heroes and to come together and remember a day that had an effect on all of us and allow us to focus on the positives. All the more impressive because you guys realize, not having been born yet, but you realize the magnitude that it had on everyone here and everyone beyond. I found the same quote Ray did, because it's a good one and it reflects what you girls have accomplished here. To reiterate, even the smallest act of service, the simplest act of kindness, is a way to honor those we lost and a way to reclaim that spirit of community that followed 9/11. And that is exactly what tonight is about, girls. Even just by wanting to do this, but also inviting the younger Girl Scout troops, involving our Boy Scouts to be here and joining us was a beautiful gesture. Honoring Mr. Griffin, displaying the incredible artwork produced by our middle schoolers around the pavilion. You've united our community here, and you've enhanced that word unity within the word community. And that is meaningful. And it's something that everyone here will hold close tonight when they go home and they think about tonight and when they think about it tomorrow and as the days go on, and they will pay it forward to their community in their own special way. And that is what we should take away from tonight. Infinite blessings to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman McNamara.
Over the years, our troop, with the direction of Kristina Deak, my mom, has spent some time with butterflies in their development. Butterflies can symbolize many different things. To us, butterflies symbolize love, change, and hope. It is our hope that the butterflies we release tonight, they will bring about change in the world so that love will flourish and hope will carry us through. Please remain seated as we pass out our butterflies for the release. We would like to give our first butterfly to the students. We'll let the line. If you're interested, finger out.
Oh, he's excited.
Great. My name's Marion Drew.
These were all raised right up the street, collected as eggs and caterpillars, and we released them back into the community as well. Yeah, just open it up and give it some
We put it into their hands.
You can put it on their hands, yeah, that's fine. Here, move out more.
First action constant and thoughtful. However, before you depart, we do have one last surprise for our leaders. They have helped us so much, and we wanted to give back what they have given to us. I speak on behalf of the whole troop when I say that we could not have done any of this without you.
And hold up, we got one more.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'd just like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for you bringing yourselves out and your children so they get an idea of what this country's gone through and the sacrifices that people had made. Military and everything else you mentioned, fire. When Tanya contacted me and asked me if I would come, and it was Girl Scouts, I said I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I said yes to her, but in my heart, I said I don't want to be anywhere else because I was a Girl Scout leader from the time my daughter was a daisy all the way up to senior year, and my daughter wasn't even a Girl Scout anymore, but I got 4 through her silver. Right. So I want to thank you so much. You know, my daughters are 29 and 27 now. They were 9 and 11 when they lost their dad. And I certainly could move on. And I know I'm being encouraged because, you know, I have a house with no kids in it anymore. But I love this town so much. Tonight, I don't recognize even a lot of people here because you're here with small children. But I'm going to tell you, don't leave because you never know when you're going to need them. Everybody was there for me. People I didn't know came to my home, and when they say it takes a neighborhood to raise your children, I had people watching my children every moment. So again, I want to thank you for coming out. Don't leave here. Don't think it's better somewhere else in a bigger house, because it's not. I could have afforded a bigger house, but I didn't want it. I wanted to be here, so stay. And that's all I have to say, girls and boys. Let's include those boys because they did a good job, okay? Be good to each other, all right? And support each other because you never know when you're going to need each other, all right? I love you all. Thank you, Waldwick.
We're going to go out here and release this butterfly.